Alright, so we're going to be getting into some embedded stuff and firmware hacking and things of this such. Now, one of the things I want to get into today is something called USB Multiboot. And it is a chunk of software that allows you to install or run a Windows XP environment from a USB thumb drive. Now let's get into a little bit of reasoning why we would even want to do this. Now yes, there are Linux distributions that will run from a live CD or a live USB thumb drive. And there are Linux distributions that will even install from a USB thumb drive to a hard drive. But you know what? I'm not a Linux fanboy. I believe in the right tool for the right job. Sometimes you need Windows. For some of the stuff that I do, Windows is absolutely required. Now, I mean, it's a sad state of things, but some of us just use Windows. Now, I'm a fan of Windows XP. We've talked about Enlight in the past, customizing your Windows XP install. And we've talked about things like the BART pre-boot environment, or pre-boot environment in general, making a live Windows environment so you can do recovery or whatever. Some of the pre-built environments already are BART PE, Higher-Ends Boot CD, and the Ultimate Boot CD for Windows. All of these typically run from an optical drive. That's great and fine and dandy. There's nothing wrong with that. But what happens if your device doesn't have an optical drive? All it has is USB. Well, until recently, until currently, you've pretty much had one of two choices. You actually go and got yourself a USB optical drive enclosure kit, which as you can see, mine is not in the best of conditions, or you got one of these all-in-one USB adapters that plugs to the back of the optical drive here, and you got an external power supply. You know what? These things are kind of fidgety. Some machines won't even recognize these. This is just too bulky to carry with you everywhere. USB thumb drive, on the other hand. This is a generic $25 4GB Memorex USB thumb drive. There's nothing special about it whatsoever. Now, you might be asking, well, you know, what the hell doesn't have an optical drive these days? Well, maybe you have a so tiny ITX machine. You know, this was actually a cell phone store kiosk computer at some point. No optical drive currently. Now, yes, there's an IDE bus. I could put an optical drive in, but do you have one? Yeah. I got a bunch of these laying around. Got a bunch of USB thumb drives. I've even got an embedded tablet here. Yeah, thing's great. Sorry, no optical drive, but it does boot from USB. Give me a second. There we go. Yeah. Microsoft Web TV 2. Granted, it's going to take quite a bit of low-level hacking to actually get this to boot anything besides Windows CE. Another prime example of being able to load your operating system, either Windows XP or Windows Server 2000, Windows 2000, Windows NT 5.1. Anyway, point being is, with USB Multiboot, we are able to either run a live Windows XP or Windows NT environment, or install it from USB. Now, there are some catch-22s. You need to know a bit about how your host, your actual hardware... Oh, yeah, I've also got the EEE. Going to be installing Windows XP on that son of a bitch because Xandros sucks. Okay, so you need to know a little bit about how your hardware is going to interact with your USB. Does it read the USB thumb drive as a physical hard drive, as a serial ATA or parallel ATA hard drive, or does it read it as an actual thumb drive, or does it read it as an actual USB device? That's going to be something important that you need to know. You also have to make sure that your device will allow you to boot from a USB stick. Now, we're going to go to the computer side, and I will do some how-to tutorial on USB Multiboot. We'll go through a really quick install. I'll give you a quick rundown of the software so you can actually get started with this son of a bitch. Okay, of course, we need to go and get a copy of USB Multiboot. You can go ahead and Google USB Multiboot. They're up to version 10 as of this segment. And it will lead you to www.msfn.org. There's a lot of information on this website on USB Multiboot in general, how to use it, tips, tricks, tools, techniques, etc. Once you go ahead and download it, extract it to wherever the hell you want. You'll actually notice that there's a USB Multiboot.cmd, which will be running in a moment. So, we're going to go ahead to my computer, and I've already inserted my Windows XP CD, and we're going to plug in the thumb drive. Got to make sure that Windows will detect it. We need to know the drive letter. It is issued as F, and I've got Windows XP, and I just dragged and dropped it to my my computer. So here we have it, Windows XP Service Patch 2 with serial ATA. I did a little bit of end lighting and slipstreaming. I even made a EEE version. Now, if you notice that USB Multiboot is actually a command prompt, meaning it really doesn't like very long path names, as you may notice up here. So, whenever you're actually working with the actual source distribution, go ahead and put it on your C drive. If you notice, I've actually got a copy of, and no spaces, okay? Try not to leave the path name extremely excessively long. It doesn't like that. Here's a copy of the EEE version. Alright, so go ahead, load up the USB Multiboot command. And it's going to give you a quick rundown of what USB Multiboot is all about, where you can get help, and etc. Press any key to continue. Okay, the first thing we need to do is to actually format, well, if you choose to, format and prepare the actual USB drive. Now, if you use the letter P to use PE to USB, it is limited to a FAT file system, which has a maximum of a 2 GB file size, or sorry, partition limit, which means no drives above 2 gigs. I haven't had much luck with that. I'm using a 4 gig, so that's out of my option. You can use the HP USB disk storage format tool, which I've had more luck with, or if you have already formatted it to whatever the hell format you want and you do not want to destroy all data on the drive, you can hit N. So my choice is going to use H. Now here is the HP USB disk storage format tool. Now it automatically detects my thumb drive. Now if you format this as FAT or FAT32, again, you will be limited to 2 gigabytes. We will do a quick format. If you use FAT or FAT32, you have the option to create a DOS boot disk or startup disk, which sometimes you don't need to really do the whole USB Multiboot thing. All you need is a DOS utility disk. We'll get into that another day, though. So we're going to quick format this into NTFS. And of course, the obligatory warning of this will destroy all of the data on the device. This shouldn't take too long. Of course, the bigger the device, the bigger the drive, the longer this will take. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and close out of that, and it goes to the next phase of USB Multiboot. So, number 0 is to actually change, or option 0 is to change whether or not you're going to be loading this from a USB stick or a USB hard drive. Notice how in the upper right corner here, it is now USB hard disk, but no, we want USB thumb drive, we want a stick. Okay, so give the Windows XP source path, option 1. Now it's already put at C, XP, SP2, da-da-da-da-da. Already gone through this a couple of times for a few other machines, but I'll give you the rundown. Alright, so we're going to point it to C, EEE XP, because I want to get Windows XP on my EEE. Yay for censorship! What this box that's blurred out that you can't see, basically it is the automatic attended options. It actually has the owner name, organization, product key, computer name, admin password, time zone, work group, first username of the machine, and whether or not it uses semi-unattended or full unattended. There's a yes, no, or cancel. Hit yes for full attended, no for semi-unattended, and cancel if you do not want to change anything. If you do want to change any of this data, you hit the E option. Underneath here you see E, Edit User Data Setup. Choose this and it will ask you a series of questions, which I've just stated. Username, serial number, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so now we need to go to option 2. Give USB drive a target. Where is it going? So we are putting this on my F drive. So we click our F drive. Now, if you actually wanted to add USB content, now the USB Multiboot allows you to add content of images, installation packages, etc., etc. It also allows you to install things to the OEM directory, such as extended drivers. B_ini folder, which I'll explain this in a moment, is different boot parameters. This is quite literally a boot.ini that you'd typically find in Windows XP. This would be used for changing the variables of how your host handles USB drives themselves. Of course, we have one for Windows 2003, a multi-boot, meaning you have multiple boot images. Let's say you wanted to put a Windows XP Service Patch 2 installation, BART PE, and a custom pre-boot environment all on one. This will allow you to do all of those. We have Partition 2 bootloader, Windows NT 5.1, and Windows XP setup, which we'll be using. So we're going to go back to this, and we're actually going to hit B and select the proper. Let's drag this down here. We're going to select Windows XP setup boot.ini because this is Windows XP. Now select win_nt.sif. .sif files are predefined configurations for